Hi guys, Dave Wilson here again. Now today, interesting project, I'm going to make one of my classic Celtic bracelets, but I'm going to try and do it without soldering it. So, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to use this. This is Argentium silver. So, what's Argentium silver? Follow me, let me explain. So this is Argentium silver wire, and as you see it looks just the same as any other silver wire, and it is really, it looks the same, it's got silver in it, it is silver, but it has a few special properties, so let me explain. Okay, so let's start with sterling silver. Okay, so sterling silver is 925, so that's 925 parts per thousand, or 92.5% pure silver. The rest of it, usually in sterling silver, is copper. Now that makes it really strong and tough, and that's why we use sterling silver for jewellery, because it's strong and it's tough and it gives us all the great properties. But one of the disadvantages is that it tarnishes. So as you know, if you leave sterling silver, it goes dark and it goes black. When we're working with it, we also have to be very careful to keep it clean and use flux and protect it, otherwise the solder won't run. And we also have this other horrible spectre which we get with sterling silver, which you might be familiar with, called fire stain. And that's where you heat up a piece of silver, and then when you polish it, it's nice and shiny, but you have a black shadow on it. And that's caused by the copper, and it's sometimes really difficult to remove, and it can sometimes ruin a piece. So, Argentium silver is a slightly different recipe, and this gives us several advantages and it removes some of the disadvantages of sterling. Okay guys, so the silver that I'm using today is Argentium 940. This is 1.2mm round wire, and as you see, you can bend it, use it round, you can shape it, form it. It's just like working with sterling silver, but this has got some special properties. So firstly, this is 940. So as the name suggests, it's got more silver. This is 94% pure silver. They also make a premium grade, which is 960. Again, as it suggests, that's 96% pure silver. But this is 940 that I'm using today. Now, so we've got more silver than sterling. You've got a little bit of copper, a little bit less copper. But again, you see, you can still work with it, but it's very tough. This is really strong stuff, so your final jewellery is going to be really strong. There's also a third ingredient, and it's a tiny little touch, just a little percentage of germanium, and that changes the whole makeup of the metal, and this gives us some important characteristics. What it does is it gives it an anti-tarnish property. So the first thing is, when you make your jewellery is going to be anti-tarnish, so it's going to stay shinier for longer and require less maintenance. So we're going to get nice, tough, strong jewellery that's anti-tarnish, so that's great. But also, that anti-tarnish also applies when we're heating and we're working with the silver. So this gives us another couple of advantages, is that it avoids fire stain. Okay, so when you heat it up, the metal is protected from oxidisation because of the way the alloy works, and so you don't get the fire stain. So that's another big advantage. So if you're starting out and you're struggling with overheating your sterling silver and getting fire stain, try some of this. No fire stain. And thirdly, and this is the interesting thing I'm going to show you today, because of these kind of anti-tarnish properties and because of the way the alloy works, when you heat it up, it means that we can fuse it, okay, like you can with fine silver. You can fuse it, so you can heat it up, you can join the ends together without using any solder. Of course, you can use solder if you want, you can solder it just the same as you can with sterling silver, but remember to buy Argentium 940 solder, okay, then everything stays the same. Always keep it the same. So today I'm going to show you how to make a bracelet just by fusing it without any solder in pure Argentium 940 silver. So, follow me. Okay, so this is what I'm going to make. I'm going to make a bracelet with these little like reef knots. So sort of a kind of Celtic-y knot type bracelet. So I'm going to make about 9 of these links. Now, if you notice, they're actually made up of 2 loops. And the great thing with these is that using this Argentium wire, I can fuse the ends. And I can do all that beforehand, so this is a great project if you're new to Argentium wire or you just want to have a go at fusing. So 41mm or 1.5 inches would be sufficient, that would work. Clip the ends. Make sure as well that before you clip your second one, if you've got a jagged edge there, just clean that end up and then cut your next piece so that they've all got nice flush ends. Now I want 8 links, so that will be 16 lengths of wire, and I'll make a couple extra, so I'll make 18, give myself an insurance policy. So just cut it to length. So here I've got 18 pieces. Very important, just make sure that the ends are absolutely perfectly flush. Give them a little file. Rather than just bending them into a circle where the ends are going to come together at an angle, I want the ends to butt up absolutely perfectly straight. So I'm going to bend them into a D shape. So I've got some half round pliers here. So I'm just going to bend it round like that. And then the same on the other side. Just bend it round. And what I'm looking to do is I want to get the ends flat and parallel. So let's just get some parallel pliers, and I'm just going to give it a squeeze there, and let's just zoom in. So you see, it doesn't matter what shape the link is, that doesn't matter. The point is that we've got a nice smooth edge there, and can you see that's perfectly butted up there? That's what you want. So do that with all of them. So now I need to solder them, or in this case, because these are Argentium, I can fuse them. So let me go and show you how to do that. Follow me. So here they are, all laid out on a soldering block. And you probably can't see on the camera, but the butt joints are all this side. They're all closest to me, so I know where to aim the flame. Now you can just heat them as they are. Like I said, they don't turn, it's the same as sterling. But I've got some Argentium flux here. You can get this from the Argentium company themselves. It's a little bit overkill perhaps, but you know, I've got it, so I'm going to use it. Because just the same as sterling silver, your joints need to be close fitting, clean, and you know, a little bit of flux helps. So I'm just going to put some flux on all these joints. Small flame. This is my Smith's little torch, or if you've got little butane torch, that will be absolutely fine. Remember, it's only wire that we're soldering. And I'm going to start this one here. I'm going to do a couple and then I'll zoom in. So, sort of a softish flame. You don't need too much heat, it's only wire. Warm up the whole piece first. And then as it starts to warm up, I'm just going to focus my heat just on this side here. And there, that's done. I'll do another one here again, just warm it up and then start to focus my heat more on this side, and it's done. It only takes a second, and what you're looking for is where the ends are butted up, it's like a flash, you know, sort of like when your solder melts, you'll just see it flash and you'll see the joint close up. And at that point you've got to take your heat off. So heating it up, again nothing happening yet. I can see the surface just starting to get shiny at the top there. Focus my heat there, boom, it goes shiny, you can see it close up, that's it. Let me zoom in and see if I can give you a close up of it, then you can see exactly what I see. Right, so I'm zoomed into the maximum here. I've got 3 there, so hopefully you can see where the joints are. So let's go for this one at the top, and hopefully you can see what I'm talking about. So let's heat it up. and then you'll see it start to flash. Focusing my heat there. You see that? Let's do this one. Hopefully you can see the flash that I'm talking about. Heat it up, focus my heat there, boom. Yeah. And then this one down here, the joint is just here, it's a bit difficult to see. So heat it up, focus my heat there, and boom, gone. And you notice, you see they're still shiny? Even though they've been heated up and fused, they haven't gone black. You see, they're still nice and bright and shiny. And as you can see, they're all completely fused. So just give me a second and I'll do all the rest. You see how good they are? You can't actually see where they've been fused. So what I need to do now is I want to bend them into oval shapes. Now, two ways of doing that. You can either pop them on some round nose pliers like that and pull, just to kind of stretch them oval. Or in my case, I like to use these opening pliers. So again, just pop them on and just give them a pull, and that will make them all ovals. Now I want this radius to be 5mm, so I've got a 5mm bar here. If you know that your pliers are 5mm, or put a mark on them at 5mm, or if you've got these opening pliers, I know that if I go down about halfway there, I know that that's about 5mm. So whatever. If any of them, if you can see the joint on any of them, I mean they're really good, but if you can, try and put that at one end so that when we connect it with the jump rings afterwards, it'll be hidden. So however you choose to do it, make them all oval, 5mm at each end. So let's just do the rest of them. Here they are all bent into ovals. I'm now just going to perfect them a little bit with some parallel pliers. So you see the little kink there. So I'm just going to put that in the jaws. Just give them a little kink, and then one on the other side, just to kind of straighten them out. Okay, what we want to do now is want to just bend them slightly round, only a little bit, just like that, just a little curve, yeah. And you'll see why in a moment, because we're going to slot one inside the other. So just curve them all just a little bit like that. Just do it by hand, doesn't need to be precise. Okay, so you can see how they're all curved there. Like I say, it doesn't need to be precise. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to put them together like that, you see, and we're going to thread one inside the other there. So what we need to do is just one end, doesn't matter which end, just going to squeeze it down just about 2mm. Okay, you see that? And you can check with another one, and basically it just needs to go inside there. So a little bit more on that one. There we go. And it just needs to be smaller so it can just slot inside the other one like that. You see? So do that with all of them. I've just zoomed in here and I'll try and show you a little bit more detail. Okay, so you see the curve towards each other, and we're going to go that way. So that small end in there, that small end in there. Okay, can you see how that works? And then like I say, if you get your round nose pliers, you can just use that there, squeeze one side, then just rotate them round, and you see how it kind of pulls it through, yeah, and then you can just poke it in, and you see that's what we've got. Yeah, hopefully that helps. So just carry on, do all of them. So get your pliers, your round nose pliers in each end like that, and just pull, not too much, you see, just give a little pull until it forms that knot in the middle, yeah. And don't pull too tight, make sure you've got a little bit of a gap in the middle. Okay, if it does start to close up, just put one of your round nose plier ends in and just open it back up a little bit, yeah. So get it until it loops right like that, yeah. And again, do all of them, so pull them until they're all the same length. So there you go, you can see that kind of nice knot in the middle. Now what we need to do now is these ends that we squeezed in before, want to open them back out. So you can put your round nose pliers in, or if you've got flat round, whatever you've got. And we need to just open it up, and you want to open it up until it's the same width as that, so until you can get the 5mm burr in. If you're finding it hard to open up that end link, use your bench peg, just something that you can push it against. Just kind of push your pliers in, just along the edge there, or use a hole and poke them downwards, whatever works. You see, that's what you want, you see. So both the ends and those loops in the middle are all in a nice straight line, and they're all the same width. And again, if you want to use a little 5mm burr, just to double check if you want to do that. And what you'll find now is it locks together, you see, can't go anywhere. Okay, so again, do that with all the rest. I might be being a bit picky, but if those two, for example, they seem a little bit wide, so if so, I can just go in with some pliers and just give them a little squeeze in the middle, just kind of nip them up a little bit. Okay, so make any adjustments as necessary. I'm just going to squeeze the middle of that one a little bit, just a touch. Yeah. Obviously the curves, they've still got that curve in them, so what we need to do now is really simple. So parallel pliers, these have got nylon jaws, but regular parallel pliers will also do. And you see, just quick squeeze, and then it flattens them all out. And again, what that also does is it locks them in place. Yeah, so again, do that with all of them, just flatten them nice and gently. If you don't have parallel pliers, use a vise or put them on the bench and just press them with a block of wood. Whatever you need to do, just kind of flatten them out a little bit. So again, do that with all of them. Once again, a little bit of quality control. I've just hung them all on a burr, and you can just check that they're all the same length. I've checked it a few times and I keep seeing that one there, so I'm just going to put a little mark on that one, and then when I take them off I'll just have a look and adjust that as necessary. Okay, so I'm happy with all the links now. Let's put those to one side. Next is I'm going to make a little hook like that, so it kind of matches in. So let's just show you how to do one of them. So I've got a piece of wire here, exactly the same as what I've used before. So this is 55mm or about 2 1/4 inches. Some little round pliers or half round, and I'm just going to make a loop on one end there. A little bit more. Okay, and again you want the loop to match about the size of the loop, then everything matches. Little loop at this end in the same direction, so just at the very tips, and I'm just going to make a tiny little loop at the end there. Yeah, and then I'm just going to get some flat pliers and I'm just going to squeeze that together, just crimp that up at the end there. There. Now with this end, I want the end of that wire to be nice and flush there, so if it doesn't go flush, if it's at a slight angle, just file it a little bit. So just get a little file and just file it parallel to your bar there, yeah, so that when you just bend it flush, what you want to make sure is that you've got a nice flush fitting there, you see, because we're going to fuse it in a minute. When you're happy with that, just bend it in the middle, again about the same diameter as the end, and then you got a little loop like that, and then you can bend it and adjust it as you need. There, I'm happy with that. So like I said, try and make these loops about the same size as the links so that everything kind of matches, and I think that looks nice. Now I'm going to fuse that there and fuse that here, but before I do that I'm going to make some connectors, and then I'll do all the final assembly in one go. The bracelet's going to go together like that, so we need some little jump rings. If you wish, you can use your wire and just make some little wire jump rings. About 3mm inside diameter will be fine. I always like to use D-shaped wire, so this is Argentium silver, again 940, and this is D-shaped, so you see it's curved at the top, flat at the bottom. So this is 2.3 wide and 1.5mm high. So let's make some little connector rings. So here I'm using my cordless drill, nice and simple, and I've got a 3mm burr. So let's zoom in, and at the end of the wire I've just bent it there so it slots in between the jaws of the chuck there. I'm just rotating it round very slowly, and I'm using my thumb and my fingers to bend it round a little bit at a time. Okay, it's quite thick wire this, so if you do go too fast it'll just get tangled up. So taking my time, bending it round, and then I've got some nylon pliers here, and I can just do the last little bit. There we go, just get that last link, and there, a nice little neat coil. So I now need to cut it into jump rings. Now, very important, you need to cut them with a saw. That's most important. Apart from the fact that this is a bit too thick to use cutters, I want nice, clean, straight edges, so always saw jump rings when you're making them by hand like this. Okay, I've got a few here. I'll need to make some more, but I just want to show you how to assemble it. So I've got some parallel pliers here, because this is quite thick wire. Open it. Now, the important thing to note with the knots is, you see, one side comes out at the top and one side goes under. So you see, that goes up, that goes under. So we want to connect them like that, you see. So one up and one under, yeah? So up, under, line them all up in that way. So I'm going to get one of my little connector links there. So that is an under, that is an up, and I'll close this up. And again, you want to make sure that it's really nice, tightly closed, butted up, it's nice and neat joint. So just making that nice and smooth there. And so you see, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay. Now, I know I haven't fused the hook yet, but I can attach it. It'll be really easy to just fuse it there and at the ends, so that's not a problem. So attach that. By putting the hook on, it also means that I can measure it and check the length as I go, so I can adjust it to the perfect length. Okay, top tip, the last link at the end, you might want to make it just a little touch bigger, so it gives you that extra space for putting your hook through the end. So make that last one just a bit bigger. Okay, that's all assembled now. I've got all the connecting links on. It's perfectly strong. I mean, that's fine. You can wear that as it is. But I'm going to finish it. So I'm going to fuse the hook, and then I'm going to go and fuse all these individual little D-shaped connector rings as well. Now guys, just a little tip about that. In my case, I'm going to fuse everything, okay, because that's the purpose of this video, showing you that you can do it without solder. If you're a little bit worried about fusing these tiny little D-shaped links, then solder them. Okay, you can treat it just like sterling silver. You can solder it. You don't have to fuse everything. Exactly the same. Put some flux on, a little bit of solder, heat it up. You can solder it just the same way. The only thing I will say is make sure that you buy Argentium solder. Okay, so remember, like if you're working with gold, you always match the solder to the colour, the carat and the quality of the gold. So the same with this. Yes, you could use sterling silver solder if you've not got anything else, but it's always best to keep everything the same, because you don't want the tarnish to appear in the bits that aren't Argentium. So if you're working with Argentium, keep everything Argentium. So if you do want to solder it, buy some Argentium silver solder. Okay, same suppliers, wherever you get your wire from, they'll have it. Check it out. And get some flux as well. So it's up to you. The point is that Argentium gives you that option. You can solder it with all exactly the same techniques that you know and you're familiar with, but you have the added bonus that if you want, you can fuse it, which is what I'm going to do. So, let's go and fuse it. Okay, so here we are at the soldering area. I'm zoomed into the maximum so you can see it. I'm going to start with the hook at the end. So, a little bit of flux. Again, it's not completely necessary, but you know, it doesn't hurt. So I'm going to fuse this here and the loop there. A hot flame, but not too vicious. Just a nice sort of soft blue flame. Heat up the whole hook, and then I'm going to focus my heat there. You see that? Oh, look at that. You see how beautiful that is? And then I'm just going to do the end little bit there. Lovely. And just get my tweezers. Just look at that joint there. Now, I could do that with solder, but I'd never get it that good. Yeah. So next, I'm going to move on to the little D-shaped rings. So hopefully you can see what I've got here. I've quenched it. Don't forget to quench it, then you don't burn your fingers. So I've clamped the hook and the first link there with these spring-loaded forceps, and so I've got the gap right at the top there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat just that ring, but try not to get any heat on these other components, because I don't want to fuse it to these, I just want to fuse the ends. So again, a little bit of flux on the end there. I'm just going to hold it with my left hand. Let's just get this in position. So I'm just moving round to the side there. Just focus my heat just where the joint is, making sure both sides are hot, and there we go. I don't know if you saw it, but it kind of goes shiny. Again, don't forget to quench it, then you don't burn your fingers. So again, this is the second one. Just heating it up from the side, exactly the same as before. And then as it gets warm, just start to focus my heat on the butt joint there, and just looking for that little flash when the ends fuse together. Yeah, that's all there is to it. Simple as that. Just carry on, do all the rest. So that's everything all fused. Everything's all nicely connected together now. So I am just going to pop it into the acid, into the pittle for a moment, and that's just because I've been using flux, so I just want to clean off all that flux. So just a minute in the pittle, and then we'll take a look at it. So here's the bracelet out of the pittle. So the last thing to do is just polish it up and give it a clean. A couple of ways to do that. This is a little barreling machine, a tumbler polishing machine, like a rock polisher, whatever you want to call it. This is the Lawtone 3A. These are perfect for little chains, bracelets and things like that. I'm going to use a larger version, which is a magnetic polisher. This does the same job. It's got lots of little tiny little pins. It polishes it up, but it does it in a matter of minutes, whereas the little barreling machine will take a few hours. So this is my magnetic polisher. Does the same job, it just does it a lot faster. But I appreciate it, not everybody has one of these. So switch it on, high power, and that'll polish up in a couple of minutes. So there we go, all nicely polished up. And here's the cool thing, I don't need to polish it, I don't need to buff it, I don't need to file it, sand it, I don't need to clean up the solder joints, because there are no solder joints, there's no solder on it. All the edges are nice and smooth. I don't need to do anything. There is no clean up. It is such a clean and efficient way of working. It's brilliant. And of course, now that that's cleaned up, it will not tarnish the same as sterling silver, so it'll stay nice and bright and shiny with very little input. Give it a wash now and again and a rub of the polishing cloth, and that's all it needs. And beautiful bracelet. So one last thing, guys. Hallmarking. Here in the UK, if you're going to describe something as silver, you need to get it hallmarked. So that means you need to send it off to a registered assay office, London, Birmingham, Sheffield, Edinburgh or Dublin perhaps, and they will test it and hallmark it. Now here in the UK we have several standards for silver, so there's 800, there's 925, the sterling silver, 958 Britannia, 999 for fine silver. At the moment there is no official hallmark for 940. So if you send off your Argentium silver, it will be stamped as sterling silver 925, which is a little bit low because obviously it's 940, it's better than that. But what you can do is, if you register with the Argentium company, check out the website, loads of useful information. If you register with them, they will pass on your details to the assay office where you're registered, and then when you send your pieces off to be hallmarked, they will put the sterling silver hallmarks on, and they can also apply the Argentium logo, the winged unicorn. So that then tells your customers in the future that this is Argentium silver. Alternatively, once you've registered, you can buy your punch yourself and you can apply it yourself, but you do still need to have it hallmarked, so you might as well let the assay office do it. Up to you. For the guys, or my friends over in the USA, your rules are a little bit different. It's up to the manufacturer to mark the metal himself. So in your case, over in the USA, you could stamp it 940 or get a little stamp made. And then again, if you register with Argentium, you can get the Argentium punch and you can stamp the little winged unicorn on as well. Again, to tell people that it's Argentium silver. So guys, I really hope I've inspired you to give this Argentium a go. It's a fabulous material. Like I said, all the advantages but without the disadvantages. If you want to learn more about this incredible material, check out the Argentium Silver Guild website. We'll put a link in the description, argentiumguild.com, where you can find a wide range of Argentium silver products, educational resources, information on classes, online tutorials and some very comprehensive technical information. Everything you ever wanted to know. And of course, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Argentium channel and stay tuned for lots more videos and information and ideas. So, grab yourself some silver, have a go. You'll love it. I've been Dave Wilson. Thanks for watching and I'll see you real soon on the next video. Bye for now.